I'm just going to say hello to everybody and make sure if you didn't introduce yourself in the box, just go ahead and do it and tell us where you're from and what business you're in. So my name's Caleb Roth, Stain and Seal Experts. That's my company. We're a service business and a manufacturing business. And I just want to say hello to Don. Let's start at the top here. We got Aaron, we got Abe Campos, we got Al Martins up in Canada. Abe is all the way down in Texas. We got Ashley, we got Blue, we got Brad Pittman, we got Kobe Bacon from up north, we got Dan, Daniel, Danny, David, Don. Thanks for coming down. Dylan Blanc, Figure 8 Fencing, James Freeman, Jeremy. What's up, Jordan, Jose, Keela's on, Kyle, Marcus, Mason, Matt Malone. Appreciate you coming. Matthew, Mike. The list just keeps going on. We got Nathan, Nicholas, Paul, Philip, Jose, Pisidian Pressure Washing, Richard, Sean, Timatope, Top No, and Wes. Hope I got those names right, but there's looks like we got a few more on. But anyways, I'm going to start. We are recording this, so if you don't catch the very beginning, you'll get a copy emailed to you. So again, my name's Caleb Roth, Stain and Seal Experts. I want to thank you, first of all, for coming. I know it takes time to do things like this, so thanks for coming. So a little story on me, my quick background, so you know who the heck I am. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, and grew up in the fencing business. And what I mean is my dad and mom, they had a fence company, and I worked in it, digging post holes, moving fence boards, breaking rock since I was just a small kid. And, I was the guy that had to count the fittings at the supply house to make sure we had them right. So if I didn't, that was trouble. And all you fence guys know what we're talking about. So I ran the family fence business from about 18 for about 10 years. And honestly, I didn't make enough money. I didn't feel like I wanted to make more money. And I don't know how many of you guys are believers, but in Christ, but I had this thing come over me one night. I was sitting there. I had a young family, had kids and a home and a house. And I was just like, what can I do to make more money? And just all of a sudden I decided, why don't I start a staining company? And I just felt a call to do that. And I figured out there were some guys down in Texas who did it. And so I went down to check, took like my last $500 and went to Texas to learn how to stain, and started staining. And here we are now today. The rest is history, I guess you would say. So been doing this for a little bit. Started the staining business in 2012. And here we are today. We're not a huge company, but our service business, we've got about 12 employees. We run multiple crews. And we do a lot of fence and deck staining, a lot of wood restoration, and it has really done a number for my family. And so I just feel like if it's good to me, it can be good to other people too. So I love training people, showing people how to do stuff. And I love telling everybody what I've done to do my business, and hopefully it'll help you. And you never know, it might change your world, it might change your whole life. So that's it. So let's dive right in. I'm going to do a screen share, and I'm going to start this Staining 101 presentation. And I'm going to tell you I'm just going to give you a 30,000 foot view of the industry. And then we're going to kind of dig a little deeper into some bidding and things like that. And then we'll go from there. We're not going to go super deep on things, but we're going to give you a really good idea to get your foot in the door. And hopefully I will feel like this is a success if you guys leave here today inspired with an idea and a plan on what you can do to bring more revenue into your current business or to start an all new business. So let's get it done. Let's do it. My mouse has gone dead. I guess I should have charged it, but I've got one of these wireless mice and it is not working. So let me try to get down here. I didn't know that would happen on a class. So typical class, we're going to have technical difficulties here. So I'm just going to dive right into the first page here. Let's see. I can do it that way. All right. So Staining 101, know the facts. So this whole thing is going to be kind of a fact finding mission. And we're going to talk about the industry. Hang on. There we go. All right. The industry. How big is it? Let's see here. I've got somebody logging in here trying to help me out with this thing because my mouse has gone kaput here. So the industry, how big is it? This is just what we're looking at here is just a overview of the chapters here that we're going to go through. And we'll just go through them really quick. So first of all, we're going to cover the industry. How big is it? Then we're going to talk about what can I stain and seal, so we can figure out kind of what's available and what's out there. And then we're going to do, how do I begin? I'm going to talk to you about 3 ways that you can get started in the business. And then the clientele, who can you work for? I know that's a big question. A lot of guys don't know how I can get my first job or who can I work for. And then we're going to talk about probably the thing we get the most questions about is going to be bidding jobs and what price should I be? How should I bid these jobs? Fences, decks, wood restoration, etc. Then we're going to talk about the chemicals for restoration, because that's probably top 3. It's going to be bidding. Then what chemicals do you use? How do you use them? And then equipment. Everybody wants to know about equipment. And I'm going to show you how you can get into this for as little or as much money as you want to spend. Spend just a minute on safety and PPE. Most of us have kids and wives, and we want to come home to them every day. So that's where that's going to come in. And then we're going to talk about just chemical application equipment, just different things you can use to get wood cleaners, wood chemicals onto your wood surfaces. And then we're going to talk a little bit about marketing, what I do to market my business, or what I did more specifically to market my business when I was just starting out. And then we're going to talk about, let's see here, the free app. So most of you don't know that we have an app. It's called the Stain and Seal Experts app. It's for Apple devices. Sorry for you guys who are not on Apple devices. We're working on the others, but it's a free app, and it allows you to do lots of cool stuff. You can find information, you can find blog posts on different tips and tricks, what to do. But most importantly, you can measure on a map wherever you are, or whatever address you put in, a overhead image you can measure, and it will tell you exactly how much fence stain you need. It'll tell you how much deck stain you need. It'll tell you whatever you need for the different styles of fencing. It'll show you how much fence armor you need if you want to apply fence armor to the fence post. And also it's going to give you a price, because you can put all your pricing into the app and it will spit out your numbers quickly right on the spot. And a lot of guys aren't confident enough in their bidding to get their numbers right, but this app will make it where you're 100% confident and you can do it right there on the fly. And then I'm going to take a minute and talk about the stains we make. Obviously, I make stains. Our company makes stains, and we think they're great. And so we're going to tell you about those. And then I'm going to go over some of the bonuses, some of the, I guess you might call it top secret stuff, the stuff other guys don't want to talk about in the staining business, like pre-staining is probably a big one. Value adds. What can we do to add value to this business? We'll talk about that. And then maintenance plans. We'll get into those maintenance plans. We do maintenance plans. A lot of power wash guys are doing maintenance plans. And we're just going to talk about what works, what doesn't work, and just give you a couple of ideas to break the ice to get into the to some kind of a maintenance plan for your fence or deck staining business. So bear with me. My mouse, like I said, is dead. So it is taking a really long time to get over here to click the next area that I want to click. So I apologize. Those things tend to happen when you're on a crunch like this. So the industry, that's the next topic we're going to get into here. And my mouse is totally dead.
Hey, Caleb. So marketing nerd talking in here. I almost think it might be Zoom. I would almost recommend canceling your screen share and then trying to share again. And if it doesn't work, once you get back into PowerPoint here, you should just be able to use your keypad to press up and down and show it. So it won't be a formal PowerPoint.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Thank you. That is Jacob Salem here. He's kind of my wingman here, helping me with this. He's the technical guy, and he has been on our podcast. So while I'm killing time trying to get out of the screen share, I'll tell you a thing about Jacob Salem. Jacob's going to be the keynote speaker at our 2022 Staining University event. So if you haven't signed up for that, go ahead and do it. That's February 2022. It's going to be 3 days instead of 2 days this time. And again, it's a free training event. So we're going to take all of this information we've learned here, and we're going to do it in person. So That's it. So anyways, the mouse is still not working, but I'm just going to keep rolling. So the industry, how big is it? The global wood coatings market was valued at $7.8 billion in 2018, and it's projected to reach about 12 billion by 2025, according to Allied Market Research. I personally think that with the rising cost of lumber, that the market could be even bigger by 2025, maybe 15 or 20 billion bucks. What we're seeing is less, with as this lumber shortage starts, we're seeing less people choose to buy a new fence or deck, and they're spending that money on what they already have. So if they've got a fence or deck already, they're spending their money to maintain that because it's cheaper than buying a new one. So I think that those numbers from 2018 are actually going to go higher. And the reason I'm telling you this is so that you know that it's a big freaking pie. There's lots of seats at the table. So if there's 5 stain guys in one town, that's okay. It's not going to hurt you. The Dallas Fort Worth market has tons of guys in it, and everybody's making money. So many of you come from underdeveloped stain markets. I know Nashville was underdeveloped when I started. So you can, if you're in an underdeveloped market, you've got the opportunity to be the number one, the only, the original stain guy in your market. So that's a good thing to keep in mind for those of you that are in underdeveloped markets. But also, like I said before, highly developed markets like Dallas have grown complacent because they're all doing the same old thing. And a new kid on the block could really make a mark in the marketplace. So for instance, if I was moving to Dallas, I would probably be the deck staining guy. That would probably be me. So the wood, let's talk about that. What can you stain? There's a lot of opportunities. I'm just going to go over some of the most common ones. Fencing, decking, old fence and deck restoration. And I've got in parentheses there, lumber shortage. As you know, there's a lumber shortage right now. Pergola, patio covers, gazebos, shutters, boat docks and railing, and then pre-staining. We talked about that earlier. So pre-staining, it's a huge thing. And there's opportunity for guys to only pre-stain, to never stain in the field. So keep that in mind. Now, here's the big question we get is, how do I begin? There's 3 ways to get started in the staining business that I see right up front. Find a contractor to refer out. So the quickest way is you can get on our Facebook group. There's 27 or 2,800 stain contractors in there, and you can just find somebody in your marketplace. If you're a fence company in Omaha, Nebraska, or Bangor, Maine, or wherever you are, and you find that there's a contractor right there already staining fences and decks, you can refer him out. By referring a stain contractor, you may not make any money if you're just referring them, but what you're going to do is your fence jobs are going to look your fence jobs are going to look better than the competitors because yours are stained. They're going to be less likely to warp, twist, and you're going to be obviously giving more value to your client. Even if you don't make $1, you're going to win in that scenario. Number 2 is you could hire a subcontractor. So we work as a subcontractor for fence companies still today. And it's a good way for us to make money. It's a good way for the contractor to make money. And basically, for those that don't know what a subcontractor is, basically, if Joe's fence company hires me, Caleb's stain company, to stain fences for them as Joe's fence company. So I show up and I work for Joe, and I don't have to deal with getting the job, bidding the job. I don't have to deal with payments. I don't have to deal with a customer. All I got to do is go do the job. So as a subcontractor, it's a good deal. And if you're a contractor, it's great to get a guy who's already a seasoned stain contractor. And it will add revenue to your business without overhead. And again, there's 2,700 stain guys in our group, and there's going to be somebody there close to you that you could use. The next thing is obviously you could start your own crew, or you could do one while you work into number 2, and then you could work to number 3, and then finally start your own crew. Basically, you're going to start from scratch or offer new services to your current client base. So that's the 3rd way to do it. Start your own business. So the clientele. Who are you going to work for? So anybody with a wooden fence or deck or patio cover, shutters, etc., or other wood exterior wood at their home or business is a customer for you. And you can literally drive down the road and see them. It's just everywhere you go. When you start opening your eyes to this staining business, you're going to start seeing fences, decks. You're going to start seeing all these things that need staining. Also, you've got fence contractors, deck contractors, landscapers, roofers, And I put yes roofers because believe it or not, there's a ton of roofers doing stain jobs, general contractors, painting contractors, power wash companies, etc. Those are available to you. And then when you really start getting into the higher level of things, I would really recommend you go to HOAs, property management companies, and even government contracts are available for stain and seal business. We looked at a government contract the other day. It was to seal the deck of a Coast Guard cutter, which is a ship. It's a Coast Guard boat. So there's all kind of opportunity available in the stain and seal world. So now we're going to get kind of to some of the meat. Now you know how you can do it, what you can do. Let's yeah. So I'm just going to say something really quick about our comments here. Have Chad Johnson, he's done 3 jobs for roofers. Hail damage. We got a call a couple years ago from Texas, and it was a roofing company, and they said, hey, can you take on 1,000 wash and restains a year here in Dallas? And it was every bit of it was hail damage for one roofing contractor. So find that guy and make friends with him, because he's going to send you 1,000 jobs a year. And a guy who's doing 300 jobs a year is pretty doggone busy. He's got a pretty good stain company. So let your wheels start turning there if you're in Texas or work somewhere where they get a lot of hailstorms. So bidding fences. Here's where we get into the meat and potatoes, and all the pricing that I'm going to talk about here. This pricing comes from market research and surveys that we have done. I'm not telling you what to charge. I'm going to help you formulate your own pricing, but I'm not going to tell you what to charge, because everybody should charge something different. But this pricing that I'm bringing to you is based on market surveys and market research. So typically we bid fencing by the square foot, unless you're a fence installer. If you're a fence installer, you probably live in the world of linear foot. So there you go. So if you're dealing with most painters, power wash guys, they're going to deal in square footage, and fencers are typically going to deal in linear footage. So when I speak the right language, that's what I mean. You don't want to be confusing the guys that you're working with. You want to speak their language. So if you're working straight up with fence contractors, go the linear foot route and figure your pricing based on the linear foot. If you're a power washer, painter, or working for a power washer paint company, you want to deal with a square footage price. So here is an example of how we're going to figure out the square footage of fencing. So if you have a 200-foot privacy fence that's 6 feet tall, that is 200 feet, and we're going to do both sides of the fence. So both sides, meaning this side and this side of the fence. It's 6 foot tall here and 6 foot tall here. So it's 200 feet long times 12, because there's 6 feet on both sides. So 12. So that equals 2,400 square feet. And that includes, again, both sides. Sometimes people call me up or they'll send me a message and they'll say, hey, I've got a job. It's 400 feet of fence. And I'll say, okay, well, you need 40 gallons of stain. And they'll say, well, it's only 200 feet. And I'll say, well, what do you mean? They say, well, it's both sides 200. So it's 400 feet. That is a recipe for disaster. It confuses everybody, your customer especially, and you don't want to give them the wrong idea. So always it's 200 feet. Are we doing one side or two sides? So just be clear with that. So don't double your footage. Again, it causes confusion. So stain price. And this is just back to knowing your numbers and speaking the right language. So 50 cents per square foot is the same as $6 per linear foot. So if you just kind of spend a little time running through your numbers, you'll figure that out. And so when the power wash guy calls you and says, hey, how much do you charge? And you say 50 cents or $1 a square foot, whatever your price is, it's the same as when the fence guy calls and you tell him, well, it's $6 a linear foot. Same exact price, 2 different languages. All right, so let's dig a little deeper. So a 200-foot, 6 foot tall privacy fence, again, it equals 2,400 square feet. And we're going to use about 20 gallons of stain on that. And we'll talk more about how we figured that up later. So 200 times 12, again, is 2,400. And I said we're going to use 20 gallons of stain because penetrating oil-based stains that we're talking about here that are sort of the contractor's choice run at about 125 square feet a gallon. So if you do the math on that, you're going to use 19.2 gallons of stain. And a quick way to figure this with your footage, how much stain you're going to use, is divide it by 10 or just take away a 0. And what I mean is if it's 200 feet of fence, you're going to use about 20 gallons. If it's 240 feet of fence, you're going to use about 24 gallons. If it's 330 feet of 6-foot privacy fence, you're going to use about, what did I say? 330 feet, you're going to use about 33 gallons of stain. So it's real easy. If it's 10,000 feet of fence, you're going to use 1,000 gallons of stain. So the math works really well, and it works to infinity. So you can use that to your advantage. But that 19.2 gallons of stain is going to cost most guys that are buying stain in state somewhere, paying tax on it, about $597. And then the next line is an important one. And if you've been in the stain business, you may have gotten got by this. Most people that teach the staining business and how to figure stain, they don't take into account the sprayer. Well, the sprayer has a pump. The pump holds stain. They've got a hose, 100 feet, 50 feet, maybe 300 feet of hose. The hose holds stain. A rule of thumb is about a gallon of stain per 100 feet of hose. So if you got a 300-foot hose, you're going to have about 3 gallons of stain in there. And if you need 20 gallons and you only got 20 gallons, there's 3 gallons stuck in your line. You're in trouble. So you need to order extra, and you just need to be aware of that. There's things you can do, we'll talk about later, to get that back out of the line. You can chase it with something else. Mineral spirits are a different color, but still you need to know about that. So labor, what's it going to cost for you to stain this fence? If you're an owner operator, or if you're a business owner, you still need to figure labor. It doesn't matter, because if you're not there doing it yourself, you're going to pay somebody to do it. And if you are there, you need to be paying yourself to do it. So labor for 200 feet of fence to stain both sides, it's roughly 3 to 4 man hours. We got guys on our crew that can do it in an hour and 15 minutes, and do a darn good job. One operator, one guy. But most people, we would say it's 3 to 4 man hours. 2 guys, 2 hours, no problem, easy. Most new guys can do that with the right training. And so a good average rate around the country right now is about $25 an hour. So if it's 4 man hours at $25 an hour, we get $100 there. And so what do we have? We have $597 for material, and we have $100 for labor. So we have $697 it's going to cost to stain that 200 feet of fence. That is called our COG, cost of goods sold. You've probably heard that. If you've been following some of these contractors that are teaching this stuff, your cost of goods sold on this, $697. So that's your break-even point. Maybe actually, no, that's probably not your break-even point, because you got overhead to figure. But anyways, $697 is your cost of goods sold. A really good place to be in any service business is around a 50% margin. So if you multiply that times 2, you have a 50% margin. That number is $1,394. That's where I'd recommend most guys find out what your stain cost, find out what your labor cost is, multiply it by 2, and there's your 50% margin. For this example, it's going to be $1,394. And that's a pretty standard price. So the 2,400 square feet at 58 cents per square foot is $1,394. And that's a 50% margin. It's a gross margin, a gross profit margin, not a net. Net is what you keep. So the reason a lot of guys say, well, I thought you needed to be 15% or mark it up 20% or do 30%. Well, the reason is we have overhead. We've got rent, we've got utilities, we've got trucks, we've got payments, we've got lease, we've got insurance, we've got workers' compensation insurance. And those things, are office staff, commissions, things you got to pay. Those expenses are going to be in your overhead. Those things are going to come out, and then you're going to be left, hopefully, with a profit, which is your net profit. So that is it. And if you got more questions about this later, you can ask them. But again, I'm just going to read this. Gross profit margin covers overhead and net profit. Before a profit is made, overhead must be paid. Again, rent, lease payments, insurance, fuel, taxes, repairs, maintenance, new equipment, etc. When all these are paid, you're left with a net profit. So $697 gross profit in 4 man hours is not bad. It's not a bad margin. So give me a thumbs up if you can work with those kind of numbers in your business, or give me a thumbs down if you don't think that's enticing to you. All right, so let's talk about decks now. We get a lot of questions about decks and how to bid decking, and I've got a really easy way to do decks. So seeing some thumbs up. So I see a bunch of thumbs up, actually. So awesome. Cool. So deck staining. I think decks are great. They use less material than fences. They require less moving around. And what I mean by that is you carry one bucket, you set it on the deck, and you stain. When you're doing a fence, you're carrying multiple buckets out, or you're pulling long hoses, things like that. And they generally have a higher profit margin than other stain jobs. So what we're seeing in our business is we're seeing more decks this year because less fences are being built, because less materials available to do them with. So more people are spending money on the old stuff. And so right now in our business, if you look at our book of business, it's probably, I would have to ask, but it's probably a pretty heavy percentage towards the decks. So how do I bid decks? I bid them with three simple things that I need to know. I need to know how many square feet is the deck. That is the flat floor space. How many square feet is that? How many steps? And then how many linear feet of railing the deck has. Nothing else really matters for the argument's sake here. If we're looking at just a small regular deck, those are the only things I need to know. This is going to get you started. There are some extras like deck skirting, which is just boards around the bottom of the deck, or lattice. And we measure those by the square feet. If you got tall post above or below the deck, things like that. If you got stuff, you got a mask, maybe a swimming pool, those things are things that, you add in for later. But the simple formula is square footage, how many steps, and how many feet of railing. If you go with that every single time, it works consistently. When I first started bidding decks, I looked at the deck and I felt in my soul, that's a $700 deck. And that's what I told the customer. And I found it was just so hard to be consistent with that. And so these three things make me where we're spot on every single time. So bidding decks, part two. Here's an example deck. This deck in this picture right here. That was, some of you guys know Cody, who works for me. He's one of our foremen here. That was probably, I think, the first deck he stained. He did it by hand. He was brand new, never did it before. And he did that deck by himself there. So I think I came in and just kind of helped him with it. So not a hard deck to do, easy deck. So this deck's $734. That is a 10 by 12 deck. So that's 120 square feet. And pretty average right now pricing is about $4 a square foot. We see a lot of guys charging this price. So that would be $480 to do the flats. That is what we call the square footage. The floor is the flats. And then there's two steps, $25 a step, $50 there. And then there's 34 linear feet of railing, which is the railing that goes around the deck and then down the steps. Pretty straightforward. That's $204 for that. And then we figure our labor in. Okay, let me back up before I start talking about labor. So those three numbers, the square footage, the two steps, and the railing, add up to our sale price of $734. Does all that make sense? Give me a thumbs up if it does. And so now we're going to break that $734 down and look at what it actually costs to produce that job. 3 to 4 man hours on that deck if you're doing it by hand. That's pretty decent. Some probably could be done in 2.5 to 3 hours by a guy who's been doing it by hand. And if you're running a crew that's going to run a sprayer, they're going to mask the back of that house and lay some tarps down on the grass, and they're going to spray it. They'll spend 20 minutes masking, they'll spend 15 minutes spraying, and then they'll spend probably another 30 minutes picking up their stuff, picking up their masking and back brushing anything, and then they'll be out. So that is that. That's pretty fast if you spray it. So, but anyways, we're just going to say it's 4 man hours, and again, our $25 an hour, $100. So our material cost is 3 gallons of stain. Your average guy in the United States right now is paying about $107.66 for 3 gallons of a really high quality oil-based deck stain. So your cost in that job's $207.66. That is your cost of goods sold. And if we're selling it for $734, that's a $526.34 gross profit, or a 71.71% margin. And even if if you cut this pricing way down and you charge way less, you still can make money. But that price, the $734, that's a going rate that we're seeing throughout most of the United States right now. So a 71% margin on a job that takes 3 to 4 man hours, making $526 of gross profit, that is pretty darn good. I got a question about one coat. We'll get into coats a little more later, but oil-based stains that penetrate don't really go on in coats. We go to full saturation. So think of a dried up sponge, that's your wood. When you get enough stain on it, it's right, and it won't take any more. When we reach that point, we stop, and then we wipe off any excess. And if we've got, if we can achieve that with one coat, great. If it takes 6 coats to achieve that, that's fine too. Most guys are doing one heavy coat with a brush, or they're spraying and then doing a back brush with a wet brush or a wet roller, to do sort of a 1 to 1.5, maybe 2 coat kind of a hybrid thing. So, and I'm going to go over some of these questions later, because if I don't, I'm going to get sidetracked. But now I'm going to talk about knowing your products. And this, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't talk about the stains we make, but you can take this information and put it with any brand that you're using. Whatever stain you decide to use, you just need to know your product. And I recommend you pick a product and stick with it. The reason being is, here's the thing that I see very common. I see a lot of contractors, they say, well, we just do whatever the customer's preference is when it comes to what stain they want to use. So one day you're using Olympic stain, the next day you're using Sherwin-Williams, the next day you're using Stain and Seal Experts, then you use a Ready Seal, and then the cycle continues. And what ends up happening is you never get good with anything. One stain will apply one way and you don't have to back brush. Another stain, if you don't back brush, it's a terrible job. One product's a 1-coat product, one is a 2-coat, one's wet on wet, one's wet on dry. You get into all this craziness, and what ends up happening is you're just a really mediocre stain job guy, and you probably were going to get frustrated with it, and you're probably going to say, I'm just going to throw my hands up in the air and I'm not going to stain anymore because it's too complicated. And so there you go. And a lot of guys also say that thing because if the customer picks the stain, then there's no way that they can back out on it, or they can say it's the wrong color. Well, I'm here to tell you, we do thousands of stain jobs and we never get, hey, that's the wrong color. Our contract's clear. We make sure the customer picks their color up front. They sign off on it and it's done. Simple. And we're using the same product line every day, day in and day out. Our crews know exactly how it can be applied, when it can be applied, what it's going to do today, tomorrow, what it's going to do in 2 years, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. They know that because they know their products. So let's talk about the products here that we recommend. So Stain and Seal Experts, stain and sealers, the stains we make are perfect for fencing, decking, siding, cabins, etc. And we make those for you in transparent, semi-transparent, semi-solid colors. And we even make some water-based solids. All of our stains, both oil-based and water-based, are 50 state compliant and Canada. So we sell a ton of stain in California and in Canada because they work well. They're a good commercial grade product, but they're not going to kill you when you take the lid off. They're not going to knock you down with that huge odor like so many stains are. I can't stand that. Our stains, I said 73%. Some of our stains have 150% more pigments than other stains on the market. And people ask me, why did you do that? Well, because we're a contractor and we need a product that's going to work and not fail us early or give us issues. And the main thing in a stain that makes it work well and last is pigmentation. It's what gives us our look, our beauty, our depth of color, and stain is really nothing without it. You just have a clear. So the pigment is what blocks all the sun, all the UV. It is that barrier that keeps the wood from turning gray. So why not put more of it in there, right? If it's a good thing, let's put more of it in there. And 40% more oil than most other stains. It's higher than some and lower than on some others. But the oil, so many other stains, when you open the lid, the smell knocks you down. Well, that is a solvent. It's paint thinner or mineral spirits, and they put it in there. It's cheaper than oil. It's a cheap way to make your product. It's a cheap way to fill the bucket. But the problem is if your bucket of stain if this cup is or bucket, we'll call this a bucket, if it's 50% mineral spirits or solvent, when you open the lid and you put it on the fence, well, 50% of that's going to evaporate. And that's why they call it a VOC, and it evaporates. It damages the ozone layer. And while it's evaporating, it goes right in your lungs and causes damage there. VOCs, I'm not a doctor, but I think we all know that VOCs are carcinogens, cause cancer, and I don't want to get cancer. So we decided to make a stain without all that crap in it. And that's how we have a low VOC stain that has more oil and more pigment than others. And that is why we did it, basically, because we knew we were going to be using them every day. So didn't start out planning to make stains, for the world. We started out making these for us. That just sort of caught on by some weird random turn of events. So anyways, that's how we started making stains. Wood restoration. Now I'm going to change gears and we're going to start talking about cleaning fences, cleaning decks, what we can do. So let's get started. So let's just start with this picture. Look at this beautiful fence. That looks like a really expensive fence, doesn't it? Especially today. What I'm noticing about it is it's got a top cap that's like a 1x3. That's not a standard board. That board was cut and ripped on a table saw. The post cap's not standard. That one was ripped, definitely probably on a chop saw, not ripped, but cut on a chop saw. The pickets are not a standard width picket. They're not a 4-inch. I don't think they're like somewhere in between. The picket over on the right is a little wider than the one towards the middle. So I know this is a super custom fence that somebody spent a lot of money on, but it's got carpet, the thickness of carpet. It's got organic growth growing on it. A lot of people will tear that fence down and build a new one. So what I'm looking for is, hey, is the structure still good? Is that 2x4 still solid? Is the post in the ground still solid? If the answer is yes, we can make it look brand new, and we can do it for a fraction of the cost before lumber went through the roof. And now it's a tiny fraction of what lumber would cost to replace. So, so right here, I think for us guys is the future. As lumber becomes less available, we've got to take care of the wood that's already installed. And here is exactly how we're going to do it with wood restoration. So it's an opportunity. So old fences, decks, cabins, etc., present a great opportunity to those willing to clean them up. Wood restoration will continue to gain popularity as wood and steel shortages continue and lumber prices soar higher than ever before. I think lumber's up 150 or 180% higher than it was 1 year ago. In California, I was talking to somebody the other day. If somebody wants to do a 1,200 square foot addition to their home, it's $100,000 more this year than it was last year. That's crazy. Crazy. You can, I know, I think in Springfield, Missouri, you can build a house for that almost. So it's really crazy what lumber prices are doing. So never before has there been such a demand to preserve existing wood fences, decks, and siding, etc. We no longer live in the world of I'll just tear it down and build a new one. Things are definitely changing. So a pump-up sprayer is cheap, and it's in a power washer. Those two things are really all you need. You can do it without those, but those two things really get you in, and you can really do some real wood restoration. So again, a garden sprayer, pump-up sprayer, whatever you want to call it, and a cheap power washer is perfectly fine. You can pick those up at the pawn shop for $50, or you can go all out. So chemicals, again, you need to know your chemicals, because chemicals are what's going to make this restoration process easy. Anybody who's ever gone out and power washed, and give me a raise of hand here. Anybody who's ever gone out and said, oh, I'll power wash the fence or the deck, and then they ended up, 30 minutes in, they realized they had messed up. And they had gone too far, so far that they couldn't turn back. And now they got to spend their whole weekend or their next 2 weekends or their next 3 weeks doing this. It happens a lot. Chemicals are going to take that problem and make it go away. So the right chemical for the job will make cleaning easier. It's going to reduce your time on projects. And we all know time is money. It's going to leave the wood a more natural color, which is very important. When you start seeing some of these guys bleaching these fences out and they turn white, we can show you how to do it and make it turn yellow or turn pink again, like it was when it was new. You can prolong the life of the wood, and you can also, it's going to really enhance your stain job. If you stain an old dingy fence, it'll stain, but if you restore that fence and then stain it, it's going to look like $1 million, and you can charge for that. So let's talk about bleach. I'm going to say bleach, sodium hypochlorite, or SH. And I'm going to take a sip of coffee here, and then we're going to talk about it. So bleach, what is it? We got some people that turn their nose up at it, and then we got some people that use it every day on wood. I'm not here to judge either way, We do both. We use bleach on some projects. It's a cheap, low cost choice. And if you use a really tiny amount, it works. US Forest Products Lab has confirmed that it is a very viable way to clean wood. Problem is, most guys take it too far. So bleach kills light organic growth, and it will remove graying from wood using a diluted 1 to 3% solution. That's a good choice. That's a really good choice for budget-minded customers with light to medium grade fencing. If we go back up to this fence right here, is bleach going to fix that fence? No. It'll make it change, but it's not going to give you the look you're going for. You're going to have to use something stronger. But on some stuff, maybe a 1-year-old cedar fence, it may be the right answer if you got a customer that wants some kind of a budget-friendly clean job. It's not recommended for decking. We never use bleach on decks. Now, a lot of you guys listening probably have used it on a deck before, but the problem with bleach on a deck, it fuzzes the wood. It turns the deck completely white. It just doesn't work as well as some other things do. And we're charging a premium for decking. So why not use the right type of product for it? So we don't use bleach on decks. It's not recommended for decking, for cabins, for anything with heavy organic growth, because bleach, if you've got this many layers of organic growth on the fence or the deck, bleach is going to get the top one, and it's going to do a really good with the top one. But the next 50 layers or the next 2 layers or 3 layers, it's not going to touch. That's why bleach works so well for vinyl siding, for roofs, for concrete, because it hits that stuff right on the surface. With wood, it tends to go deeper. So we need something that's going to get down deep to clean those things. It should be neutralized. Most of you guys who do use bleach don't neutralize it. And we neutralize with a brightener like oxalic acid, citric acid. You've heard of wood brightener. That's what that is. And neutralizing just stops the cleaning process. It stops that burning of the wood process that's going on. And it's recommended to always use a neutralizer after you use bleach. Next, we're going to get into what we call eco cleaner. And just a quick disclaimer, we make cleaning products. We make cleaning chemicals. We have to use them every day where we're using them, and thought, why not make them available to everybody else? And we do them with a twist. They're colored. So you're going to notice eco cleaner's green, because when I have eco cleaner in my pump up sprayer, I want to know what's in there. And if it's green, I know that's eco cleaner. That is sodium percarbonate. Or also known as oxygenated bleach. Some people call it OxyClean. It's one of the ingredients in OxyClean. Sodium percarbonate is a fantastic cleaner for the certain projects. It's the perfect thing for certain projects. And it does a really good job on fences or decks that are, say, 6 months to 1 year old, 2 years old, even stuff that just doesn't have a ton of organic growth. We're just getting rid of some green. We're getting rid of some gray. Does a good job. It works really well. It kills organic growth. It removes light stains from wood and substrates. It does a great job at that. And it foams up. That's probably the coolest thing about Eco Cleaner, is it foams up when it comes in contact with organic growth, just like hydrogen peroxide does. And another cool fact about sodium percarbonate is you can boost it, meaning you can add to it hydrogen peroxide to make it that much stronger, to make it foam that much more. So it's a really good choice for things like that. It's perfect for boat docks, jobs with lots of landscaping, or concerned clients, maybe somebody who has really nice landscaping, or that's a daycare center where there's kids going to be around, or maybe they got a koi pond or something, just any of those things where you're like, I don't know if I want to use something strong on that. Use the eco cleaner. It's perfect. Comes in powder form. Again, it immediately turns green for easy identification in your sprayer. And for best results, sodium percarbonate, you need to mix it with hot water. The reason you mix it with hot water is because it just dissolves much faster in hot water. And the only cleaner that we fool with that kind of has a shelf life is going to be the eco cleaner, the sodium percarbonate. You need to use it really the first day. You need to use it within 8 to 12 hours, because it's going to start going downhill. It's going to start losing some of its strength after it sits in water for a while. And again, just like with bleach, you always want to neutralize or brighten the wood after you use the eco cleaner. But this was a great product to step right into the wood restoration world with, probably the most commonly used on the planet. Next one, wood cleaner. Really simple name, right? This is sodium metasilicate, or SM, as you see it sometimes in the Facebook groups. Sodium metasilicate. That is it. That is how you spell it. And that is it. So our wood cleaner is a sodium metasilicate based cleaner. This is what I consider probably the best, most underrated wood cleaning chemical on the planet. It does a fantastic job. It is our go-to cleaner when we're doing decks here in Nashville. If we got a deck job and it's a cleaning, a basic wash, whatever, we're going to use it. We're going to use wood cleaner on it. And it is yellow. This cleaner, it's a heavy cleaner or a mild stripper, and it kills organic growth, and it has a magic stain lifting ability. So we used to clean decks that would have leaves. You know the customer who lets leaves sit on their deck in their driveway for a year, all winter long, and then they want you to clean it, and there's black and there's all these leaf stains that bleach or nothing will remove. Wood cleaner will remove those. It lifts stains out, and it does a great job, and it loosens dead cell wood. So all that stuff like when we go back to this fence right here, wood cleaner will get all this off. It'll do a great job. Wood cleaner is also, it's a light stripper. So it will strip some coatings off. It leaves wood a more natural color than bleach or eco cleaner. So the wood cleaner is probably going to be the most natural look when you get done with it. This thing's going to look it's going to look like new wood, which is a plus when you're charging big bucks for restoration. It removes lumber stamps. So one of the really cool things about this is you can charge a premium when you're doing deck staining jobs to remove all those lumber stamps. How many guys raise a hand if you've seen a fence or a deck that says #2 prime grade pressure treated pine and it's 500 stamps all over the deck? You see those. Wood cleaner will remove those. You don't have to sand them. So great choice, right? So it's going to remove the lumber stamps. It's going to remove some old coatings. So old oil-based coatings, old water-based coatings that are kind of just a little bit left. It does a great job on that. And it's minimal fuzz, minimal furring of the wood. It will fur the wood, but it's minimal if you use it right. And again, just like the Eco Cleaner, it comes in powdered form and it turns yellow. And the reason we do powdered form, could we charge more money for stains with water already mixed in them? Yes. But do you have complete control of your mix then? No. I like, if you'll look on the can here, light clean, medium clean, and heavy clean, you can dose this at different rates. Wood cleaner is equal to half of what our wood stripper is. So once you start figuring out these chemicals and how they work, you can find exactly the right thing you're looking for to do the job. And again, you can mix this one with cold water. It doesn't matter. It's going to make its own heat. It's going to make a little bit of heat, and you can mix this stuff and it's going to retain its strength for a long time. So I prefer to mix right there on the spot when we're doing a job. But if you want to mix this stuff the night before, go for it. It's going to work just fine. And again, just like our other cleaners, step 2, wood brightener. We got to neutralize this when we're done. So here, let's get into the strong stuff. So wood stripper. Again, we've got really original names. We like really simple names for our cleaners, and that's wood stripper. Our wood stripper is sodium hydroxide and a sodium metasilicate blend. Sodium hydroxide it's a really hot stripper. It'll burn off oil-based coatings. It'll melt things off. It'll take the paint off of a house. It'll take the skin off of your arm. Wonderful cleaning product, right? It's tough. But it's a needed tool, and it's something you need to know about. So it's a powerful stripper that removes old oil-based coatings. It kills and loosens heavy organic growth. It makes the power washing portion really fast on full restoration. So if you get a fence it looks like there's brown carpet or green carpet growing all over it, use the wood stripper and it will strip that off. It'll make it really easy. You can boost wood stripper with a thing called butyl Celisolve or butyl booster, and it will then remove water-based coatings. So if you get those crazy water-based decks that have got 3 or 4 different layers of different paint or water-based stain on it, add the butyl booster into your stripper, and it's going to do a great job of melting that stuff off. And again, it's powder form, and red means hot. wood stripper's red. So you know exactly what's in your sprayer again. And again, you got to neutralize this stuff. What you're going to see when you use the wood stripper is going to pull the tannins out of the wood. So the first time I used wood stripper, I panicked because we were doing like a $3-4 million home, and we were doing these big columns that went right up the front and all this fancy cedar work overhead. And the front door was like 20 feet tall. If that tells you what kind of house we were working on. We sprayed this stuff on these posts and all this stuff, and it turned black. And I panicked. I thought, oh my gosh, we've rent this lady's cedar. Well, wood stripper pulls all the tannins, it pulls all the crap out of the wood and brings it to the top. So it turned black. Yeah, that's what we wanted it to do. Once we rinsed it, that went away. The wood was still dark, but it worked, you know, it looked much better. When we put the brightener that I keep talking about, that's when the wood popped and it turned right back to that beautiful natural color. And that was the step number 2 that we needed to make that job really turn out really well. So always neutralize your brightener with a brightener. And again, I'm just going to do a quick warning here. Strippers are caustic. They will remove paint. They'll burn your skin. They'll kill plants. So you always want to use extreme caution and wear your personal protective equipment when you're doing this stuff. So just be mindful of that. So the butyl booster, I talked about that in the last slide. This is just, it's butyl salicylate. It's a product that you add into your wood stripper for water-based coatings. A lot of guys will buy a wood stripper and they'll think, oh, it's supposed to strip anything. Well, of course, nobody tells you that in the industry, that wood strippers and sodium hydroxide, some of you guys that are using it straight, it's for oil-based coatings. It will do a little damage to water-based, but it really doesn't. You got to have this butyl boost in the product, in your stripper mix, in order to break down those water-based coatings. The best way to use it is to put it in with your stripper at somewhere around 10 to 25% of the total mix for your stripper. So if you got a 2-gallon pump-up sprayer and you're running a cup per gallon of stripper, you're going to have 2 cups of wood stripper in there. You're going to have 1.5 gallons of water and 1/4 gallon or 1/2 gallon, of the butyl boost. And that would give you 25% of your mix. And that would be a super, super hot mix that would strip off probably anything. So that is what we do. And we've got some YouTube videos on using that exact mix. If you want to see it, we stripped maybe 18-month-old water-based coating, Olympic stain off of a deck. It was soft and you could rub it off in like 7 minutes. It was pretty fast. So does it work? Absolutely. Now, wood brightener. Some people use wood brightener as a cleaner, and most people use it as a finishing step, as a step 2, as a neutralizer, and that's oxalic acid. You've heard of that. Some people use citric acid, but wood brightener for this conversation is oxalic acid, and it must be used to neutralize all cleaning chemicals and to restore the pH. You can mix it in cold water or warm water. It works a little better if you mix it in warm water, just because warm water helps break things up a little faster. And you can pour it right in, you can stir it, you can shake it, do whatever you want. I like to put it in a paint strainer bag. So you've seen the bags at Home Depot that you strain paint with. Throw your oxalic in that bag, and just, you can tie a knot in it or put a rubber band around it or whatever. Put it in your tank or your bucket of water, and just use it like a tea bag to steep in there. And that way you don't get any clumps or anything into your sprayer tips. Works really good. You want to put your wood cleaner on at somewhere around 100 to 200 square feet a gallon. It's the same with all your cleaners. Everything's going to go on 1 to 200 square feet a gallon. And it's going to start working immediately. As soon as you put this on, you're going to see it change. It's going to be like, wow. You can see what you've hit and what you haven't hit. So it's going to neutralize oxidizing cleaners. It's going to open up the wood grain. It's going to open it up just like that, the pores of the wood, so that the stain, when you come back to stain, the stain can go deeper into the wood. And it's going to make it look original again. So when the guy across the road's bleaching everything and it turns white when he's done, and you're using oxalic acid or a wood brightener, your fence is still it's going to go back to looking like it was when it was new. And can you charge more money for that? Absolutely. Does the customer want and need that better service so that their yard looks better? And are they willing to pay more for it? They absolutely are. And if you see them side by side, you'll know exactly why, because it really does make a difference when you do the restoration. So let's talk about it. So wood restoration, part 1. So if anybody's ever done any kind of wood restoration before, let me know. Give me a thumbs up if these prices sound kind of like what you guys are doing. These again are prices based off of a market survey. It's kind of what we found to be the thing that we see going on around the country. Some guys are going to be cheaper and some guys are going to be just completely out of the park with it, but this is kind of average. So let's first talk about the bleach. Basic wash. We call that a basic wash. If we get a customer that is, they've got a cheap treated pine fence and they just want to get it stained, they're moving or whatever, it's just something basic, it's going to get a basic wash. If you're fixing to move and it's, you know, it's a 2-year-old fence and you're moving, they're not going to pay for the restoration. So we want to give them that option for a basic wash. And that would be somewhere 10 to 25 cents per square foot from our research. So on a 200-foot fence, 1 to 2 man hours, you're looking at, you're going to apply a diluted bleach mix to the fence. You're going to rinse away anything. You always want to keep everything wet. There's a saying, dilution is the solution. So you want to rinse the ground, you want to rinse the plants, shrubs, the house. You just want to keep things wet with water when you're doing this, and then rinse when you're finished. And so a 200-foot fence, 1 to 2 man hours. And I don't have the numbers on here, but I'll run those for you. Let's just go on the high side, 2,400 square feet times 0.25. That'd be $600. On the low side, 2,400 times 0.1. That'd be $240. 2 man hours. You're going to have 1 to 2 man hours in it, and you're going to have a couple of bucks in chemicals. The chemicals are cheap, and I'm looking at some. Here is a 2,900 square foot. I'm looking at a work order here, job that our crew did today or yesterday, I guess today, and it took 10:30, 11. It was 45 minutes. 45 minutes for 2 guys, 2,900 square feet. There was a pool. There was all kind of crazy stuff going on, and there you go, 45 minutes for 2 guys. So that's 1.5 man hours. So they were in and out on that. And then here's another one, 12:30 to 1:30. And that was a basic wash that we did on that one. And it was 1,944 square feet that they did in 1 hour. So there you go. It works. The numbers are real. So not a bad thing. Now let's talk about the 5-step cleaning process that we do for decks. And this is going to average $2 to $4 per square foot for most guys that we see in the industry. And that's going to include, one, either sanding away the lumber stamps on a deck before you start, or we can just use the wood cleaner, right? Because it gets rid of the stamps for us. But either way, we're getting rid of them. So that's step 1. Step 2, apply the chemical, which is going to be eco cleaner, wood stripper, whatever chemical is the right one for the job. That's the one we're going to put on there. And we're going to mix it to whatever we think. If it's a really light clean, we're going to follow the instructions on the label, as you see right up in here. And if it's a heavy clean or a medium clean, we'll go with that. We'll go with whatever we think we need for this project. You want to keep your chemical wet when you're doing this restoration. So what I mean, spray your chemical on, let it work. It might work immediately. You might just put it on and then rinse it off. You may be done. It may be something that needs a little more time. Maybe it's really stained. Maybe there's an old finish on there. Maybe there's a lot of organic growth or green algae stains. You may want to let it dwell. And dwell is just let it set. And so 5 to 15 minute dwell time is pretty average. And the main thing with using a cleaning chemical like this, you want to keep it wet. If you let it dry, it's going to stop working. It's going to stop doing its thing. So keep it wet. And you can do that by either applying a little more chemical, but you don't want to go too heavy, or you can get a mister for your garden hose. Or if you got like a high pressure washer tip, you can just mist the whole deck with it. Just keep it damp. That's all you got to do. You don't want to rinse while it's dwelling. You just want to keep it wet. Once the dwell time's done, once you've achieved the result you're looking for, it's time to rinse the chemical away. And again, dilution is the solution. So keep the house wet, keep the shrubs wet, keep the sidewalk wet while you're rinsing this deck off. And we want to use a pendulum motion, and what I mean by pendulum is a pendulum swings like this. If you start down low and go across and stop, you're going to leave scars in the deck. You're going to leave gouges. We don't want to do that. I like to go the full length of each board, and we're going to use a pendulum motion as you bring the power washer down and then up. You never start and stop the wand on the wood, or you'll get issues. There's some guys that that are really good at it that can do it that way. But for all of us that are starting out, or guys that are training employees and things like that, just go with the pendulum motion, and it keeps you from having issues. Once you rinse everything away, which may be a really soft wash rinse, or on a full restoration, it may be a heavier rinse. Then once that's finished, you're going to apply your brightener. I usually recommend 6 to 8 ounces, roughly maybe a cup per gallon of wood brightener in your pump up sprayer. Then you're going to spray it on, like we talked about before, 1 to 200 square feet a gallon. You're going to know it's going to change as soon as you put it on there. And if you missed a spot, you'll know it because it won't be the right color. So it's going to brighten up. It's going to go a lighter color. So you're going to know immediately. Once you've put all your brightener on, it pretty much neutralizes right away. So some guys talk about letting their brightener dwell for 10 or 15 minutes. You don't have to do it. Once it neutralizes, it's neutralized. So once you see the change, you know the process is done. So generally when I get done neutralizing a deck, and when we change over our equipment and get the power wash wand, it's time to go ahead and rinse. And at this point, we're not cleaning. We're not doing anything. We're just rinsing the deck clean. Think of it as a broom. We're just rinsing any debris off, getting any footprints, because you walk back into the yard and you got dirt on the deck now. Rinse all that away, rinse the house down, rinse the sidewalks down, rinse the shrubs down, and you've got it done. And usually, you can, there's another note down here. It says this can be used as a 4-step process because the stamp removal, but I'm still going to call it a 5-step process because we're removing the lumber stamps with the right chemicals. So there's that. Makes sense. I know that probably sounds either really makes sense or really doesn't make sense, but that's it. That's your 5 steps. That's kind of it when it comes to a basic deck 5-step cleaning process. And that process works no matter how clean or no matter how dirty the deck is. It's pretty much the same thing. So let's go into full restoration. Full restoration average is $5 to $7 a square foot on decking from our research, and 50 cents to $1.25 square foot. Excuse me, let me start over. $5 to $7 a square foot on decks. 50 cents or $6 a linear foot to $1.25 per square foot on fencing. Quick story. Years and years ago, I was staining. I quoted a job for a guy. It was $1,200 to stain his fence, and he probably, I don't remember how big his fence was, maybe 130 feet or something. And I remember when I gave him the quote, he said, "Wow, that's a great price. That's the same price the guy's charging me to power wash the fence." And I thought, man, I'm buying stain. I'm using all this material. Half of my cost is going to be close to half of my cost as material at that time. And the power wash guy's using this guy's water. He doesn't really have any chemical cost. So right then I knew I needed to look into wood restoration. I needed to look into cleaning wood, because I realized that there's a low, the material cost is low. It's mostly labor. So we get higher margins on the wash jobs. So anyways, so a full restoration is much like the 5-step process. You're going to mask the house if need be, because strippers remove paint. So if you need to mask the house, do that. You're going to wet everything down, landscaping, concrete, whatever, wet it down. If you think that the stripper could hurt it, wet it. And then you're going to apply the chemical, which would be a wood cleaner or a wood stripper. We can still do a full restoration with wood cleaner. It doesn't have to be a stripper, but it could be stripper. And then we're going to allow the proper dwell time. When you get into some coatings, I have heard stories of some strippers taking up to like 45 minutes to work. I guess that's possible, but I don't typically see that. I typically see a 5 to 15 minute dwell time. And I know some of you guys probably will raise your hand. Chad Johnson's been there, that get into some really long dwell times, but most of your run of the mill jobs are not that bad. Let's see here. Power wash with the lowest effective pressure to remove the top layer of dead cell wood. When you're restoring a fence, usually it's super old, or a deck, it's super old. It's got, again, it's got the carpet growing on top of it of old organic growth. And we just want to get that gone. We want to get down to the new layer of wood. If we can remove all that stuff on top, we can get down to a fresh new layer of wood. And that's what's going to give us our restoration. So again, lowest lowest needed pressure, but you may need pressure on this, and it's okay. You just don't want to go crazy. We're removing that dead cell wood. We're exposing new clean wood underneath. So again, full passes the full length of the board, and you want to keep the house and you want to keep landscaping and all this wet through the process. And you may have to go back once you do your full rinse and rinse everything down again. But if you're doing a fence, same thing. You're going to go all the way up and all the way back down. So, sometimes you can go up or down one pass on a board, but a lot of times on the hard stuff, it's going to take 2 full passes per board. So I like to come all the way up and then go all the way down to rinse the board clean. And you're going to use different tips. It might be, if you're a power wash guy, you're probably going to use your soft wash J-rod and use your rinse tips, your low pressure tips. And if you get into something really tough, you may be using like the white or the green high pressure tips on your power washer. So just use, again, the smallest hammer that you if you've got a box full of hammers, use the smallest one that will get the job done. Same thing with the tips. And again, apply the wood cleaner or the wood brightener when you're finished. Wait for the color change. Rinse the fence or the deck, rinse all the house, the landscaping and everything, and you're done. You've done a wood restoration. And what do the man hours look like on that? It's more. Obviously, it's quite a bit more. But if you're charging $7 a square foot to do a deck, so a 10 by 10 deck, $700, you can afford to take some time on that. And it's not an easy job, but it's definitely not as hard as breaking rock for you fence guys out there. So it's definitely something that's attainable. And when it's hot out, it's not as hot when you're power washing. So let's see here, trip 2. So if you're doing decks, part of that restoration usually is to sand, because you're doing smooth wood and you've removed the top layer of wood off. So we no longer have that perfectly smooth surface. So it's a good idea to go ahead and sand it. When I first got into sanding, I hated sanding. I thought it was totally crazy to sand. And so we didn't do it. We were afraid of it. And now we sand a ton because we can charge more money for it. And the job looks so much better when it's done. And Kyle asked me if I could go back to that previous slide. So I'm going to go, but just know that if you're here, you're going to get an email sent to you with a copy of this. So once the job is done, once you've done the full restoration, you're going to come back for your second trip. And you're going to sand it. Usually the second trip is sanding and staining. So sand the deck to remove the fuzz or the lifted wood grain from the cleaning process. You can go to Home Depot or Lowe's and you can rent a 12 by 18 floor sander. It's a square sander that's orbital, and you can do the top of a deck in about 10 or 15 minutes. And so don't let sanding scare you to death. The only thing you want to be careful of is if you got nails and screws and things like that sticking up, you want to look at that at the bidding process. So if you've got to reset some nails or something, you need to charge accordingly. Once you're done sanding it, blow it off, sweep it off, whatever you got to do to get the sawdust on there, start staining. Usually it takes, if you're sanding by hand, let's say it takes 3 hours to stain a deck by hand, it might take 3 hours to sand it by hand. But if you got the right equipment, you can get in and out pretty fast. And there's lots of cool tools available for those. We'll answer questions about them later. So let's get into equipment. What do you got to have? Do I got to have $20,000 worth of equipment to start in the staining business? What do you think? I think not. So you can spend a little bit of money or a lot of money getting started in the stain business. But the thing is, you don't have to. It's a low barrier to entry. I think if you have a paintbrush, you are now a stain contractor, which can be good or bad depending on how you're looking at it. But so the types of sprayers, 12 volt. 12 volt sprayer is a really cheap way to start to build your own sprayer. If anybody that came to Staining University, you've seen them. They're 12 volt pumps. Power washers probably love them or hate them because they're not very dependable. They tend to break when you use some hardcore chemicals with them. They tend to last pretty well when you're doing stains with them. And it's a cheap way to get into the business, but it's disposable. A 12 volt sprayer is a disposable sprayer. And then you got HVLP. So what I'm talking about is high volume, low pressure. So like the Wood Defender trailers, there's some people that build their own. These things are great. We've had them. That's how we started out, was with those trailers. The thing is, it's kind of like a hot rod. It's kind of like having a 57 Chevy with a built 454 in it. When it's running on the drag strip, it's great, but it breaks every time you take it to the drag strip, or at least the ones we've dealt with and a lot of other guys. And so when you're dealing with specialized equipment that is built and put together, sometimes if it breaks down, you can't find parts for it. And sometimes maybe the maintenance is a little tougher than some other stuff. And that's why we don't use HVLP or 12 volt, because of the maintenance on it. Airless, we swapped over to airless sprayers a few years ago, and our maintenance issues are done. Airless sprayers are dependable. They're versatile. The parts and repairmen are in every single city. They're easy to find. And most of these sprayers, I guess all of them, come with a warranty. So no matter how cheap or how expensive of a sprayer you buy, if you get an airless, it's going to come with a warranty. So that's what we like about it. And if you need a new tip, you can go get it at any Home Depot, Lowe's, or paint store. If you need a new gun, if you need a new hose, if you need whatever you need, you can go get it. If you've built your own sprayer and it breaks down and you built it with parts you ordered off of the internet, off of Amazon, or off of Granger, some kind of industrial supply, you're in trouble. And again, if it's a 12 volt pump and it goes down in the middle of a job, you got to go find somewhere where you can buy a 12 volt pump. So airless is just the no brainer answer for us. All right. So going airless. So here's a couple of sprayers, and it kind of, so the one all the way on the bottom right corner, that's a little, we did a video. Can you do, I don't know if that's I don't know what model that is. If that's probably a Pro X19 is what that is, but we've done videos where we go buy $100 sprayer at a pawn shop and use it to prove that the airless sprayer for $100 will work. The next sprayer up is a Graco 390, and it's got a big tube on it because we suck our stain out of drums, out of 15-gallon drums. And then the one on the right, I think, is a Graco 5900 gas powered machine. You're going to notice our trucks are all running gas powered machines because they're gas powered. We don't have to plug into the house and pop breakers and things like that. And we can run 300 feet of hose on them. The one on the left, the one that's black, that is a Speedflow 6900. And I believe Titan makes Speedflow. I may be wrong, but that machine right there is probably sprayed, I'm guessing, 100,000 feet of farm fence. We're going to go spray 4,600 feet with it tomorrow. I mean, it is just a machine. And another cool thing, not only can the gas powered machines run 2 guns, which is a plus, they can run 200 or 300 feet per each gun without any issue. And if you break, like, let's say it's belt driven, if you break a belt, you can go get another belt at any auto parts store. You just take the belt, measure it, and you got a belt. Also, the pump, the cool thing about the big hydraulic machines is if you get a little piece of trash or something causes your pump to maybe start leaking or something, you can run 2 weeks on that thing before it breaks down on you. It's still going to go. So that's a plus too with the gas powered machines. So we don't sell machines. I'm just talking about my experience with them. So another word about airless sprayers, homeowner models are great for beginners and do-it-yourselfers. They're cheap, they're disposable. There's probably 1,000 stain contractors in Texas who buy a $200 sprayer at the beginning of the season and they throw it away at the end of the season, and they do it every year. I like the commercial models. The electric ones, like the 390 is a great beginner model. It's the 390. You hear a lot of guys talking about it because it's the first commercial grade sprayer. So when you get out of Home Depot and you deal directly with like a Graco rep through Sherwin-Williams or somebody like that, the first model you can get, the base commercial model, is the 390. And the commercial models have 3 filters. They have a 3-year warranty. They're fully rebuildable, and they come with rep support from the manufacturer. And so what that means is if your machine breaks down and you're in the middle of a job and it's a brand new machine or 2 months old, you call your rep and you say, hey, my machine's broke. And he brings you another machine for a loaner, and they take your machine back and they fix it for you, which is really good. And the 3 filters is awesome. And then if your pump does eventually wear out, you just put a new pump in it. Some of the ones from Home Depot, you got to throw them away. So it's good to have good equipment. Gas powered machines or slow stroke machines are heavy duty. And again, they can run multiple guns, long hose lengths. They're self-contained. They're fully rebuildable. They're robust. So if you're planning on going into this for the big time, you want to get a gas powered airless. Another plus is they'll run paints, they'll run stains, concrete, stucco, rubber flooring, etc. Another word as we go back here about the different types of sprayers, 12 volt usually, and then the HVLP will only run a penetrating oil base stain. Airless will run water base, oil base. It'll run film forming stains. It'll run penetrating stains. You get into the gas machines, they'll run concrete, they'll run stucco, they'll run rubber roof coatings. They'll the lines that they paint on the parking lots and on the roads, those are put on with airless sprayers. So they're very versatile too. So so there you go. If you want to do more than one thing, you can do it. So when I was trying to talk my dad, who was the fence company owner, when I was in the fence business, into staining, he said, well, wait a minute. I don't want that liability. That's a liability and I don't want it. We don't want to deal with that. And so what do? You know, a lot of people are really worried about it. And it's a good concern, because you hear a lot of guys that sprayed somebody's house or their car, or we've all been to a house, you know, for a fence estimate or a power wash estimate, when you saw whoever stained the fence or deck, they must have been on drugs, because they sprayed the whole house. And so here's what happens. So the picture you see here is one of our stains. I think that's like our chestnut color. Somebody sprayed on or spilled a whole bucket on concrete, and you can see there's a little oil dry there because we absorbed it up with oil dry. And then I'm going to go down to the picture. We got it out. So you can still see a little shadow from the oil, but we got it out. So just to show you, hey, these stains can be cleaned if you make a mistake. So the most important tool in your toolbox when you start staining is to have a plan. If you make a mess, what are you going to do about it? So one thing that you can do is porous surfaces. Some of you guys have probably seen guys wet concrete down or brick down before they stain. That works. If you keep porous surfaces wet, the stain cannot penetrate it. So it's as simple as rinse the concrete or brick or rock clean when you're done, and you're good to go. You can use water. You can use water and dish soap. You can use water and degreaser. Anything will work. The degreaser and the dish soap is simply just it's going to keep the water from drying. So in the summertime, you add a little surfactant like a soap or degreaser. It's just going to help that. It's going to make your job easier. And you can keep a strong degreaser in your truck also. So if you do get a major spill, you got something that'll get it up with. You want to keep some rags in your truck, some oil dry, and a water hose. I mean, that's pretty much it. If you got a major spill, the oil dry will get it up. If you get stain on something like a satellite dish or an air conditioner, use a rag to wipe it up. And the water hose, obviously, you use it every day for just general cleaning purposes. Spills happen, but if you get the right tools and the know-how, you can definitely fix it. The cool thing about penetrating stains is they get on metal, they come off. So that's what the rags are for. You get it on, you spray the fence, you get the hinges have stain all over them, wipe them off. You got metal posts, wipe them off. You got an air conditioner, wipe it off. Car, wipe it off. So it's really as simple as that. And that's why most contractors make the choice of these penetrating oil-based stains, because it is time. Time is money. And if you can wipe the stain right off instead of having to mask those hinges, you've saved quite a bit of time. Let's talk about PPE. We never talk about this, but I want you guys to scan through this list here and just raise your hand if you think that that's excessive, if that's something that you could do. Could you wear this stuff? Yeah, I think everybody's cool with it. So your family needs you, and you need to protect yourself. Do it for them. If you don't do it for you, do it for them. So eyewear, if you're spraying stain, if you're spraying water, if you're spraying anything, protect your eyes, right? If you're blowing wood chips off a fence or wood dust off of a fence, protect your eyes. Wear a respirator, wear a mask. I think everybody's, you need to wear a mask. It doesn't matter if you're spraying an eco-friendly stain, if you're spraying a super toxic stain, if you're power washing, if you're sweeping, leaf blowing. Once it goes into your lung, it's hard to get back out. So it's good to get that out of there. A head sock is a great thing. It's like a hood you pull over your head. It's lightweight, it's breathable. Wear gloves. If you're working with some of these really nasty potent stains, they'll melt your gloves, and you have to change gloves every few minutes. So I know some of you guys know what I'm talking about. So imagine what it's doing to your skin. And here's just a little side note. Don't use backpack sprayers with bleach or other chemicals. It's 90 degrees outside. You got a backpack on, you're sweating, you're hot, it's running down your back. You never even notice it, but you go home and you realize you've had pure bleach running down your back, and now you've got a bleach burn or a wood stripper burn on your back that takes 8 months to heal because it's a chemical burn and it keeps burning. So that's why we don't use backpack sprayers. It's happened to a lot of guys. Don't let it happen to you. Chemical application equipment, pump up sprayers is a great thing. 12-volt chemical sprayers, again, can be built at home. They work well for chemicals, and it's pretty standard in the industry. Downstreaming, a lot of guys that are power washers, you can downstream, no problem. You can do it. It's really only good for bleach. I don't recommend downstreaming any of the other cleaning chemicals. Just doesn't really work. If you can't afford a sprayer, you can use a brush and a bucket. Just make your mixture up in a bucket and apply it with a brush. You can use soft wash systems. Some of you guys have really nice rigs. You can use those for that. And now let's talk about gaining customers. I think you've got an idea of how, kind of what the process looks like. Let's talk about how do we get some customers. Some people say give a job away or something like that. I'm not going to tell you to do that. I wouldn't do it. I've never done it unless it was like for a charity or something. I prefer being a little more proactive and going out and getting the jobs I want. And so I get all these calls all the time. Hey, what's the best CRM? What's the best marketing? What's the best campaign I can do? Where should I be spending my advertising dollars? I'm a new company. I have no customers. Well, the first thing you should do before you spend $1 on advertising is do what's for free. The number one thing you can do is call or personal visit every fence builder, every deck builder, every power washer, every property manager, everybody in your market who you think is dealing with those customers that you want. Talk to them, call them up. It's as simple as picking up the phone and saying, hey, I stain fences, you build fences, we should be friends. I've made that phone call many times and it works. So if you're a fence guy, if you're, you can call other people. If you get the idea. So you can call your fencing, your lumber, your paint, and your power wash supply stores and make the introduction and say, hey, I stain stuff. Put me in contact with your guys. I'd love to work with you. And they will do it. And then you want to stay in contact with these people constantly, once a week, once a month, sending them a text message saying, hey, I stained a fence you built last week. Here's a picture of it with your sign on it. It looks good on you, something like that. Just constantly be sending them little things and saying, hey, because what you're trying to do with these fence builders, you're trying to get it ingrained into their head that Ben, or let's see, Jesse, Daniel, Aaron, Abe, Al, Ashley, they stain fences. That's the stain guy. They stain decks. They stain houses. Whatever it is that you're wanting to specialize is, call those people that are in front of your customers, and they're going to refer you out. Also, social media. Post every job you do. If you do a job, just post it on social media. That's how I started my business. I was too broke, too cheap, couldn't afford marketing. All I could do was get on social media for free, do a Facebook Live, and it has blossomed. It really was good for us, just putting a job out there, the good and the bad. I think one of the best performing videos I had was, hey, this is Caleb with Stain and Seal Experts. We did a fence last week and we missed a spot. Here's the spot. Let me show you. Check it out. Can you believe, how did we miss that? And then I showed them touching the spot up with a brush. That's why you work with us, because we mess up just like everybody else. But when we mess up, we fix it. And then that was it. Facebook Live. Got a ton of business off of that. It's just real. People want to see those real things. And if you do that, you can do it for free with video, with things like that, word of mouth. And I recommend you really focus on the word of mouth, because we live in a world where we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. The internet could be gone. The Facebook could be gone, and you don't want to be having all your eggs in one basket. So I would say, however much energy you focus on your social media, do 3 times that much on word of mouth and knocking on doors, talking to people. Landing page at a minimum. A lot of you guys worry about websites and really building a great website. You don't have to have a great website nowadays to be in business. You need a good landing page, and that's kind of it. A lot of guys do tons of business without a website and do tons of business maybe with just a Facebook page, especially if you're a subcontractor. You're just, let's say you got 2 or 3 fence companies that just constantly send you work. You don't have to have a website. not at all. But here's some things you can do at a minimum. You could do a landing page. If you don't know what that is, it's just one page. You can do a website. You can register that website or landing page with Google, with all these different business directories like Yelp, like Google Maps, Angie's List, Pinterest. The list goes on, Nextdoor, House, etc. And then just study marketing, see what people are doing, and you can get better at it. It's not rocket science. At the lower levels, when you get super high up, it can get really complicated, and there's things, then you got to hire professionals to help you. But at the low level, when you're trying to get started, you can really, for free, get all the business you can handle for free. And I truly believe that because I've done it. So here's a freebie I want to give to you guys. We make an app, and it's a free app. We don't make any money off of it. We don't get your information. We actually can't even see who has the app because of Apple's privacy settings. But there's an Apple app that we have. And again, I was talking about it earlier. It does really cool stuff. You can put all your pricing in there. You can get your prices right off the bat. You can access our Facebook group on there and ask a question if you're dealing with something you're unsure of. You can send a quote to your customer. You can order stain. You can order fence armor. You can order post saver. You can order all the things that you use in your business, your wood cleaning chemicals right there. That's free to you. It's the Stain and Seal Experts app. So again, when you're on the job, you need answers fast. That's why we developed the app. And it's your in-field assistant there for you wherever you're working. So you can showcase value-added products to your customers. So for example, fence armor. Most of you guys may have seen fence armor. If you're a fence guy or a stain guy, fence armor goes on the bottom of the fence post. And it is a great value add because fence posts get beat to death by a weed eater. And then when you got a yellow fence and you got brown stain on it and you beat it up with a weed eater, what do you see? Well, now you see the wood, the bare wood underneath. This, for a couple of bucks, stops it. The app has augmented reality on there. You can actually take a picture of the fence post and it will put the fence armor on the post so you can show your customer. It's pretty cool, right? You can do it with the app. So there's another value add for your people. So, and also probably the best thing for some of you new guys is it calculates how much stain you need. So no more guessing. Oh, I got 3,200 feet of 3-rail. How much stain is it going to use? It's going to tell you exactly what you need. Or I got 227 feet of lattice top. Do I need 30 gallons or 27 gallons? Or do I need to order 5 buckets or 6 buckets? I don't know. This will tell you. And it also accounts for your hose. So never going to run short. So that's it. Get what you need on there. You can add your pricing in and it makes life really easy. So bonuses, here's kind of let's get out into left field here a little bit and talk about some of the odd and end things that go on in the staining business. Maybe you can't go out in the field for some reason, or you don't want to, or maybe it's really wet and rainy where you are. There's some bonuses you can do. Pre-staining, you can dip or machine finish lumber inside a building or out in your backyard, and you can sell that lumber or the service. Here's something that I tell a lot of people. We provide this service. I say, hey, you send me yellow lumber, I send you brown lumber back. So I never own the lumber. You just send me your wood. We stain it for you. We charge you for the service and we send it back to you. That is a great service business, and it's a booming business. I think about 70% of the wood being installed in Texas right now, the fence wood, it's pre-stained. So if you're in one of those markets that's maybe pre-stained is growing or just about to take off, look at it because it's something you can do and I can help you do it. You can dip it or you can get a machine to do it with. I don't recommend buying a machine. I recommend starting out dipping the wood. And then when you get to the point where you can no longer dip fast enough, don't buy a cheap machine, buy an expensive machine because it's going to make you money. The cheap machine is just one of those things that's like, you're walking and you bought a go-kart to drive, 1,000-mile trip. You're going to hate it. You should have just saved your money and got the truck or the car, if that makes sense. So maintenance plans. So if you're selling fence staining, you should sell a maintenance plan with it. Hey, we want to come back to see you in 2 years or 3 years, and we want to redo this. We want to come back next year and just wash it for you. So you want to maintain your stain jobs. You could add services like house washes, concrete cleaning, sealing, things like that. There's so many things there. The more you're in that customer's backyard, the more they're going to recognize you, the more they're going to be sending referrals to you, the more their neighbors are going to see your trucks. So maintenance plans can be a very good way to get back and seeing your customers over and over again. How cool would it be if you had 700 customers that you never had to call, but you billed them between $50 and $250 a month, and you came out once a year and washed something for them, and you had very little cost in that, and then you stained it every 3 years. That would be cool, right? It would be cool if you had 30 people on that list, and you can do it. So look into maintenance plans. We've got one that works for us, and there's several other guys doing it. So if you need help with that, reach out to me. I'll be glad to help you with it. The post savers we talked about, you can pre-sleeve post. Here's another add-on business. If you're the stain contractor and maybe you're pre-staining wood for somebody, you can pre-sleeve their post. There's a thing in the world called a post saver sleeve. It gives you a 20-year guarantee on a post, and it costs a couple of dollars. And there's guys that are actually selling this as part of their fence packages for a lot of money, because 97% of consumers, homeowners, the people buying fences, 97% of those people want the added benefit of a warranty on their post if they're doing a wood post, and they will pay for it. And statistics has proven it, as much as $8 to $10 a foot more for something that cost you a few cents a foot more. So pre-sleeve and post is definitely something you could look into. Selling stain to your customers. If you're a fence builder and you don't want to stain anything, I guarantee you're going to have 10 customers this week ask you, hey, will you stain my fence? So if you don't want to do it, just sell them the stain. You can definitely make a markup, and there's dealer opportunities in our company available. There's in other companies as well, I'm sure, but talk to somebody, start selling stain, start providing that service to your customer as of selling them the stain. Fence armor, we talked about it. Quote this on every job. It's a no-brainer. You'll make a couple dollars per post. 200-foot job takes you an hour to stain it. Takes you 10 minutes to put on the fence armor. So that is pretty much a no-brainer. So that's it. Real Good Stain. This is our stain brand that we've been talking about here at Stain and Seal Experts. We made this stain. A long story short about how I got into making stain was I was a stain contractor, doing a lot of business. I think the last year I bought stain. I bought about 7,000 gallons of stain as a contractor. And I remember the number was exactly 20 failures on a deck. I had 20 callbacks on a deck that I warranted. I went and warranted out of my pocket, no problem, because I knew I was a knucklehead. I mean, I must have messed it up. The stain's not working, so I must have messed it up, right? So I went and fixed it. Well, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 came in of warranty calls. And finally, I said, hey, we got to do something different. So I called the manufacturer. I provided videos and pictures, because I took videos and pictures of everything, because I was wanting to market that of before and after our cleaning processes, how much stain we thought we were going to use, how much stain we did use, before and after pictures of the jobs, moisture contents. And I turned it into the manufacturer and said, hey, I don't want stain. I don't want money. I just want a solution. What am I doing wrong to fix these decks? It was primarily decks I was having failures on. Manufacturer told me, go pound sand. We're not going to help you. And that just kind of sparked something into me. And I thought, I'm paying a lot of money for bad stain. Why don't I just make a bad stain? And, I thought, how can it be any worse than what I'm already buying? I'm already having to go back and fix these things. Why don't I just try to make it myself? And maybe if I'm lucky, I could fix those issues. And that's what we did. We did a lot of things that we said we're told that we couldn't do, like making an oil-based stain that was solvent-free, doing different things like that. But we've done it, and it's worked really well, and really had no intention of selling our stain. That was never the plan. Primarily because our stain cost a lot of money to make compared to some other ones. And it just wasn't in the cards for us, but it just, somebody said, hey, I want to try your stain. And we let them try it, and they wanted to buy it. And here we are today. So we sell stain all over the US and Canada. And at Stain and Seal Experts, we design and test our products in the real world, which we do. We use them every day on the same fences and decks that you guys work on every day. That's what we do. A big part of our business is staining and sealing fences and decks right here in Nashville. And you better believe if we got something that's not working right or not holding up right, our crews are going to tell me about it. So that's just the way it is. Our products make a real impact with real easy application, because part of doing this, it's got to be easy, right? We're not professional painters. A lot of us are just fence guys. That's what I was, as a fence guy. So I need a stain that I can put on and it's going to be easy to use, because I don't want to be out here all day doing this. And it's got to last. It's got to provide a really good performance. And that's it. We make real good stain. So what we do, we make fence and deck stains and sealers. It's stain and sealer in one. We make wood cleaners, strippers, and brighteners. Of course, we're a distributor for post saver sleeves, for fence armor. We make degreaser. We sell boxes of rags, stains, and paint brushes, sprayer tips, things that you need out there. We got them. So we like to help provide those for you guys. And one of the really cool things about our company is we've got a tech and a support line. Just like I've talked to you kind of through this process, we've got people here all the time that answer the phones that will help you. So we've got the app to help you. We've got the Facebook group for support. There's 2,700 contractors you can learn from in there, ask questions. We also have a tech line. It's not 24 hours. It is 8 to 5 or 7 to 5 Central Time, Monday through Friday. But we've got real people that answer the phone that know what they're talking about. So if you've got a problem, if you've got a solution, and you need a solution right there on the spot, we got people here that will help you with that. And there's a couple ways you can buy our stain. You can buy it from all of our dealers, and we hope that you do. We've got dealers all over the US and Canada. And we hope you support our dealers. That's what we want. We want it there local for you. But if you can't find it at a dealer locally, which the list is on realgoodstain.com, you can buy direct from us, which is again at realgoodstain.com. If you want to be a dealer, we got a ton of guys who have signed up as being dealers. They want dealer pricing. They want to be a dealer or distributor. Call us. The phone number's right there. Get in touch with us, and we'll make it work for you. We ship everything for free. That's probably the number one question I get. Hey, I'd love to buy your stain, but I don't want to pay shipping. Well, nobody wants to pay shipping. We got the shipping covered for you. Shipping is free. And if we get an order by 3:00 Central Time, we're shipping it today. So keep that in mind. If you need stain, we're going to ship it out direct. And if you want to be a dealer, we'll be glad to get you set up. Again, another note about becoming a dealer now. Who is the ideal dealer for us? Okay. So we're partnering with professionals to bring more value to our clients. So you're going to probably see Mr. Fence as a dealer for us. We got Joe Everest, the fence expert. We got Martin's Lumber, Ace Hardware, Fence Armor is one of our biggest dealers. We've got just tons of fence contractors, power wash companies. We got all these people. They deal it for a reason. It's a good product. They make money on it, and it's a good product. And we got dealer and distributor pricing available. If you want to become a dealer, just email us and reach out. Enough of the sales pitch there, guys. Now it's time for me to take questions. I appreciate you guys waiting this long. We've been at this for over an hour. Let's talk about questions. I'm ready to take all the questions. Whoever's got one, let's do it. Let's see if our mouse is working. All right, guys. Your questions on, guys. Does the semi-solid oil-based stain cover the same for solid stain water-based? Water-based is going to go about 200 square feet a gallon. Semi-solid is going to go somewhere. I tell everybody 125 square feet a gallon. We got guys that are getting our semi-solid stains. They're comparing it to other brands that have similar stuff, and they're going a long way. So I think they're getting somewhere around 175 square feet a gallon on like our chocolate browns, our sable browns, our auburn palomino colors. They work really, really well. And Jacob, I don't know if you're still here. I would love it if you would take control of my mouse and get it to where I can see all the color or all the questions, because my mouse is dead, and I think it's this Zoom thing has got my mouse frozen. But
so let's see. Mouse, but I can scroll and read some off or put them back in chat.
Yeah, just Yeah, just scroll through them for me, man. I just want to take some questions. We can start at the top if you want.
All right. So, well, I'll get the one that just popped in. Cover in terms of pigment will be the same result.
Yeah. So I think what he's asking is so our semi-solid is semi-solid because it's an opaque pigment. So meaning, you can't see through it. Let's see here. So a transparent pigment, I can't show you without a light here. A transparent or semi-transparent pigment is think beer bottle. A beer bottle is made with pigments that you can see through. So if you can see through the pigment, it's a transparent pigment, and that's what our trans and semi-transparents are made with. The semi-solid is an opaque pigment, meaning you cannot see through it. So the more of that you use, the more opaque it is. So can you stretch that out and make it go further? Absolutely. So I hope that makes sense. Cover in terms of pigments will be the same result. Yeah, it'll be the same result. Rodrigo's got a thing here. Man, I don't know what is up with this mouse.
So I'm scrolling back through some of the chat. I don't know if you were getting these throughout. There's actually
no, I've froze. My whole thing is frozen, so I can't. Nothing's moving on.
So Daniel said at 7:49 p.m. He said, "Can any of the cleaners be ran through soft wash systems or pump up sprayers only?"
Yeah, so you can run them all through a pump up sprayer, and you can run it through a soft wash system. You're going to just have to figure out getting your, and I think what he's talking about is a proportioner. You're just going to have to get your metering and dosing right. A lot of guys use a soft wash system for brighteners, and a lot of guys are, using it for obviously for bleach. When you get into the other chemicals, you're just going to figure your dosing out so that you can do it. But can you do it? Yes.
So you might have covered this one, but David said at 8:38, I'm in Eastern time. He said, explain the difference between semi-solid and semi-transparent. Did you cover that?
Yeah, I covered it. It's just the difference in pigmentation type. So opaque pigments versus transparent pigments. So an opaque pigment, we can see through it. For instance, we can see through this. It is transparent. I don't know if you can see my screen. I'm holding up a blue clear piece of plastic. And then when you go to an opaque pigment, you can no longer see through it. So yes, they're different, but one and the same. And Kobe Bacon here, he asked, would you suggest learning as a part of a crew, or would it be okay to just start off on my own and do a couple learning jobs? Yeah, start off on your own for sure. If you can start with the crew, it's great. But I think, jump in there and do the job. That's how I started. That's the way I did it. If you know how to work, some guys in the world today they just don't know how to work yet. They were never taught. They never did manual labor. But if you understand manual labor and what you got to do and thinking ahead and looking where you're going and making sure you're not doing something that's going to make your life harder later, then yeah, jump right in there and do it. Just be cognizant of what's going on. Take your time. Call me. I've trained a lot of guys to stain with FaceTime. So I'll FaceTime with you. I'll get you going on it. What else have you got?
Chris said, and we're getting thanks guys. I see them coming in. I'm going to try to moderate them all. Chris said, how do you go about pre-stained fences, the process that's effective for you doing 600 plus pickets? I've had multiple requests from fence builders.
Yeah. So you can do, let's see, you can put a whole unit, you could do that in a half a day with a dip tank. Pretty easy. If you want to talk more about it, I'll be glad to talk to you about it. We just talk on the phone about it and I can kind of go over some details, but you dip, as fast as you can dip a board and then stand it up, you can stain pickets just that fast. And once you let them, they're going to drip down, all the stain's going to reclaim. So you're going to use half as much stain as you would use spraying. And then you send it out the door. You don't really have to, you just wait for it to drip, and then you put it in a bundle and send it out. So yeah, it's doable. It's doable in water base and in oil base, and I can show you both ways to do it. And I can show you machine finish. We got a machine that runs a board every 2 seconds. You can get into something like that too.
And then also, guys, too, I'm just the nerd behind here. So be sure to join his Facebook group. I put a link in the chat, an actual live link in the chat a little earlier. I'll do it again. So any of these questions go on Facebook too, and email and everywhere else. But all right. So Figure 8 Fencing LLC said, for starting out, are there differences in pump up sprayers, things to look for in pump sprayers?
I wouldn't don't worry about it. Just get one. The ones we like are the Scots with the three heads. They have three different tips on them. Just get a pump up sprayer. If you're using it for cleaning, that's perfectly fine. If you're using it for staining, you may want to get something maybe a little more powerful, a little higher quality. But it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Pump up sprayers are disposable. They're supposed to be disposable. Get it, use it for 2 or 3 jobs, and throw it in the trash. And just to be clear, I've never found a pump up sprayer that I thought was suitable to run my business off of. Meaning, I would never stain 100% with a pump up sprayer. But I know a guy who does probably stains 20 jobs. He builds 20 fences a day. He's running 16 crews, builds 20 fences a day, and 80% of them they stain every one of them with only a pump up sprayer. So they're doing a ton of it. So we had a question about follow up. I recommend when you bid, you follow up as soon as you bid the job. So if you're in person, hopefully you're going to ask for the sale right there on the spot. If you're doing it via email, you send the bid and then you call them and you ask for the sale. If that doesn't work when you get off the phone with them, or when you pull out of their driveway without the sale, you need to send them a text message. Hey, this is Caleb with Stain and Seal Experts. Thank you so much for having me out. If you got any questions, or if I missed anything, let me know. And then the next morning, follow up again the next morning. It usually takes 8 touches with a customer before you sell something. So don't be afraid to follow up. There's a thin razor's edge between annoying and no communication, and you want to ride that line. And I don't think you're ever going to have a customer complain about you contacting them too much.
Mike, I just want to make sure you saw it. Mike said in the Q&A section, he said, what are your top selling colors?
I think last month it was walnut and pecan. It changes. It fluctuates. Walnut and pecan are very popular colors.
I'm not sure if you're seeing the other chat. So we got Abe said, Caleb, thanks for what you do in the fence staining community. I look forward to attending your next training in February 22 is what I think they meant, God willing.
Yep, I can see that one. So the price thing, a lot of pre-stainers are charging somewhere around 25 cents a linear foot. Back when I was really digging into what other people were charging, I don't know if that's the same, if it's gone up or not, but 25 cents a linear foot would be $1.50 for a 6-foot board, $2 for an 8-foot board. We always charge a little bit more for 4x4s because we stain 4x4s and they're wet, they're heavy, they're hard to handle. So we charge maybe a couple bucks, $4 or $5 for those. And is an annual maintenance too soon for the hot, sunny Oklahoma? Yeah, no, I think you do a 3-season. So what we do is a 3-season maintenance plan. You pay me the price. If it was $1,000 stain job, you pay me or whatever the amount to stain, divide that same amount by 24 months. And then we'll come out and we'll clean the fence 1 year later. Takes us 30 minutes to do it, and we use $3 worth of chemical. We'll come out the next year and we'll do it. Same thing, 30 minutes to do it and $3 worth of chemical. And then we'll do a maintenance coat. And instead of using 20 gallons to stain it, we used 7 gallons to stain it. So we still made money. And now we've got them on a monthly retainer, and we just keep that going over and over and over and over. And that's our maintenance plan. 3-season maintenance, real simple. The price of the job divided by 24 months. They bill it every month, and then you see them once a year, every year. I would do that for sure.
So in the Q&A, we got, I actually want to piggyback off of a question I see. So Stainman said, can you go over the dates for the next Nashville training and a 1-minute overview of what goes on? And then I even want to, actually, I'll have you answer that. And then I have my own question.
Yeah. So Stainman, I think that's probably Kenny Dugan, who's probably one of the best stainers in the country right now. We're just one of the most knowledgeable guys, and I appreciate him attending. It means the world to me. February 24th, 25th, and 26th, I believe, is the dates. 24th, 25th. It's a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday event, or Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday event. I can't remember. 24th through 26th. Ashley knows. 24th, 25th, and 26th. And we're doing it the same place we do it every year, but we're moving to the big building. So we're going to a brand new multi-million-dollar expo center. The cool thing about that event is there's all kinds of wood around. There's wood, there's concrete, there's fences, there's cabins, there's decking, there's rough cut wood, there's just all kind of craziness there. And we get the luxury of being there and taking advantage of that. And we do it for charity. charity. So it's a nonprofit organization that we come in and we clean stuff for them, we stain stuff for them, and they let us use their area to do that. And so it gets you real world experience on real stuff without the pressure of it being in somebody's backyard or something like that. It's actually on a public place. And I think last year we did like a veterans building, World War II veterans building and stuff like that. So cool to get out there on real world projects without the pressure of the whole world looking at you. And we learn everything there is to know about wood cleaning, staining, different chemicals, different, how to get the green out of wood, how to use a sprayer, how to use this kind of sprayer. They're going to do all of those things at our event. There's classroom stuff. We'll go over the same type of stuff we've talked about tonight. We're going to go over, as deep as you want to go. There'll be Joe Everest, the fence expert, was there. He'll be there again this year doing like video marketing. You guys see him making all these videos. He's going to talk to you about video marketing. Jacob Salem's going to be there. He's the Zig Ziglar, Les Brown, Kevin Harrington. He's made those guys famous with all of his social media marketing, working with some of the best in the industry. And he's going to teach you how to do things with your Facebook, Instagram, and your social media to get your business bringing in the leads you're looking for. Mr. Fence is there. He's a part of that. He does our fence install school. So Mr. Fence Academy, Sean King, you've heard him. Probably he's the notorious Mr. Fence. He's going to be there with his chrome trucks teaching you guys how to build a fence, how to build a wood fence, how to build a vinyl fence, and going over fence questions. We bring in, basically it's stain and seal experts. I'm not the expert. I bring in all the experts, and we get all these guys who have a teacher's heart, who wants to help people. Nobody gets paid. It costs us a ton of money to put it on, but we do it for free, and we do it to push the industry in the right direction, because there's not a lot of things out there in the industry that really push it. Because most trade shows are run like you go to a training and it's like, okay, here's how you use this piece of equipment, and we sell that equipment, and that's the training. Well, that's really not doing any good for the guys. We want to go somewhere where you can learn from guys in the industry who are not selling you something, who are actually teaching you the ins and outs of the industry. And that's what Staining University and Fence Install School is all about. The NAFCA, North American Fence Contractors Association School, is also a similar school that I recommend you go to. We do a Staining University bit there as well, and it's in Florida. So that one's good as well. So there's different schools out there. We're doing one, we do them all over. So hopefully we'll get one close to you, but the big ones in Nashville, we do it once a year. You stain up here in Michigan. We sell a lot of stain in Michigan. Michigan is sort of a water-based market because it's always been, but we sell a lot of oil-based up there, and we see a lot of guys using oil-based. So the beauty of an oil-based penetrating stain on decking or fencing is, will it fade away? Absolutely. It's going to fade away. It's designed to fade away slowly over time so that you can come back in and put another coat on it. Water-based stains tend to film a layer on top of the wood, and when they fail or start to fade out, you generally have to strip them off, which is just a lot more labor, a lot more work. So some people say, oh, well, we got a 25-year warranty on this stain. Well, it's 25 years if you stain it once a year, every year for 25 years. It's one of those kind of deals. So get any more questions, Jacob?
I don't see any in the Q&A box, and I think you have chat. I do see a lot talking about the NAFCA event, February 6th.
Yep.
And even Ashley posted about that too. I don't know if you want to touch on that a little more or not, but.
So Abe Campos asked what warranties on our stains. So most oil-based stains don't have a warranty. Most of the smaller stain companies don't have one. Most of the big ones, the big box store stains, have crazy warranties because they know with market research, maybe 1% of people are going to even do a claim on it. But, and then when you do a claim, they don't cover anything. It's really strange. Basically, our stain is covered. Obviously, we guarantee the contents of the container. It's, you're not going to find a fingernail or a shoe in there. Obviously, it's going to be stain in the bucket that works and does its job. It's going to work right. The color is going to be right. As far as the application, clears, there's no warranty on clears. our transparent colors are going to come with, and our semi-transparents are going to come with a 2-year warranty, meaning they're going to hold up, and they're going to hold up well for that 2-year period guaranteed. Transparents, you're going to see 2 to 4 years. You go to some of the semi-transparents, are going to get you into that 4-year range. And our semi-solids have a 3-year warranty on them, meaning that it's still going to look darn good in 3 years. Now, if you don't put enough stain on, it's not going to look good. If you put too much stain on, it probably look, really well. So basically our warranty covers the material, and it keeps us honest, because you cover the labor, I cover the material. I'll make a darn good product, and if you do a darn good job of putting it on, it's going to be perfect. But if you start cutting it down with thinners, if you go to the gas pump and pour diesel in it to thin it down like they do in Texas, if you go really thin and you skimp on it, it's just like anything else. It's not going to work as well. So there you go. Nathan, I had a question. Please re-answer, or please ask that question for me.
And then also, guys, if we did miss anything, I apologize. Please send it back over. I'm trying to do my best to feed them here. But if you have any questions, just let us know and we'll make sure we get them. And if we missed it, I apologize.
Yeah, I don't see any more. Of course, mine is froze everything except the chat box. Wood brightener. Can you use wood brightener? And then, yeah, you can use wood brightener if a fence is only 6 months old. I just find you get a little better job. It looks a little nicer when you use just a cleaner first. Like a 6-month-old job, I'd probably use, I don't know, a half cup a gallon of eco cleaner, and then I'd hit it with a 1 cup per gallon of wood brightener and just do a soft wash. Something real simple.
Did you see Nathan's question come in there?
Yep. Okay. So why stain your fence? Here's what I do, man. It's real simple. Everybody knows they need to stain their fence. Everybody knows. No one owns a wood fence that doesn't know that they need to seal it or stain it or this. The problem is people don't live or stand or barbecue on their fence. They barbecue on the deck, the hot tub's on the deck, they walk on the deck, they sit on the deck. The fence is just kind of in the background. But the main thing that I tell people, I can go and I can preach to you till I'm blue in the face about why you should do it. But that's not important. People really don't care about that. Do you need a car? You don't need a Corvette, right? But some people want a Corvette because it looks good. And that's why I tell people, why is the number one reason to stain your fence? It's not to preserve it. It's not to make it last longer. It's not to, conserve trees and make a good positive effect on the environment. It's because it looks good. I want my fence to look good. And if you stain and seal your fence, it's going to look good. That's the most important thing for most people. And every year it's going to stay looking good, and it's going to last longer. And the maintenance long-term is going to be cheaper. The cost of ownership is going to be cheaper than the fence that you got to replace every 5 years because you didn't do anything. So that's kind of what I do. I always just say, hey, look, you need to stain this fence, but it's going to look good. If we stain this thing, it's going to stay looking good. You're going to look nice. You got a $700,000 home. You spent $5,000 on sodding your grass. Wow. And you spent 15 grand on the fence. Why wouldn't you spend another $2,200 and have it stained? Let's just do it. It makes sense. Cash or check, or card. How do you want to do it? I like to treat my customers like they're millionaires. You treat them like a millionaire, they generally act like one. And so we do what's right for them. See any more questions?
I think Nathan said how to add, in addition, he said how to add warranties to your stain.
So here's what we do in our company. We put, obviously, whatever product we're using. In our case, it'd be
I think we're running into another technical difficulty. I can't hear Caleb anymore, so we'll hopefully get him back in just a few seconds. All right, so that's probably not going to happen. I'm the only host left, so this is Jacob Salem talking. We'll wait a few more minutes here. I'm not sure what happened with Caleb's internet there, but he is no longer in the meeting, so hopefully he jumps back in here. If you guys have more questions, please send them over. I'll make sure to field them. I'm personally grateful that all of you guys have been here as well. And while I'm waiting for him to come back, just please take a look at realgoodstain.com. Caleb's here really just to help you guys be more, do more, have more. It's the desire of his heart, and I'm super glad that he was able to put this together for you. So I'll kind of mediate the crowd here for a little bit. Hope he jumps back on, and we'll see if he does. But if you have questions, send them over, and I'll keep fielding them. But again, we are super, super grateful that you are here, and definitely here to serve you. Join the private Facebook group, email over, call over. Our staff would love to take care of you. Realgoodstain.com is the best place to go for the stain that you need, and we're glad that you're here with us tonight. All right, guys. So I did just get the message that his Wi-Fi and computer are down. So this is it. If you guys have any questions at all, Caleb can be reached at realgoodstain.com, standingsealexperts.com. That private Facebook group is the future for everything that he is doing with Staining University. This is building up from the ground floor. We are helping him build online training, everything to help you guys with all the systems, all the processes, all the marketing, all the material, everything you need to build the seven-figure business that I know you all deserve. And so whether you're in the fence industry, whether you're trying to get into the stain industry, whether you're already in it, maybe you're a brand new budding entrepreneur, I'm confident that Caleb can help you get there. So no matter where you are, we want to be able to help you be more, do more, and have more. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. We look forward to talking with you in the private Facebook group and seeing you at our live event in February, and look forward to serving you guys with more great material here in the near future. Hope you all have an amazing night. God bless everyone.